Hello, Pickle Peeps. This is the first video in the Learning to Read Deeply and Get Back into Reading. And if you haven't seen the introduction or what we're going to be doing in this series, I'll link that down and below. May want to check that out. It'll explain more of what's happening, but this is the first video. So this one will be about 30 minutes. So it's going to be 10 minutes of reading and 5 minutes of a break. So for this one, because we don't know what reading deeply feels like. We haven't done it in a while. What we need is about 30 minutes of this, and we need to have a place that's pretty quiet. A lot of distractions are not around, so preferably not in front of your computer when it's on. If it's on, then you have the mouse off or something. I don't know what you need to do for that. Just have a place that's quiet, that's free of distractions, whether that's in your home, at a park, somewhere for about 30 minutes. And all you need is for this one is your book, something that you want to read, something that you want to know the story about. It's something pretty easy. You don't want to go in here reading like a super thick, crazy book. I have a mystery thriller because I like those. I have my bookmark, and I have a drink because I get thirsty. So yeah, definitely have a drink. I have coffee. You can have coffee, tea, a soda, juice, water, whatever your beverage of choice is. And I'm going to set a timer up for 10 minutes. And hopefully I'll have this on the screen and everything. So I'll set a timer up for 10 minutes. What we're going to do is we're going to read. And when you're reading, you're just going to focus on the words. We're not looking for how fast you can go in 10 minutes. You're trying to take in all of the words, their meanings. You're going to visualize in your head when it talks about descriptions, what that looks like, what that feels like, when it brings in a character, what their voice sounds like in the dialogue. So you're just going to take your time. This is not a race. This is just learning to be absorbed in your book. If it helps, what you can do is take your bookmark and go down and read line by line. If you can't, for some reason, if your eyes are bouncing around on the page, I do that when I get too fast reading into a book because my eyes bounce around, and then I realize that I'm not absorbing what I'm taking. So I'll do that sometimes, and you just go through line by line with your book, and it makes it easier when you go to take your break because your bookmark's already in there where the last line you read. Put it down, close it, and you take your break. So we're going to start the timer. Hey peeps, Editing Voodoo here. So what I wanted to put into this video as well is part of deep reading is visualizing the story happen in your head. Like when I originally read Harry Potter, the first one, like 11 years old, and we were reading it for school, and when I read it, I was like, all right, cool. And then I read it slowly to make sure that I could be able to visualize all of the descriptions in there and how things would go, to the point that when the movie came out later on and I watched that, I was disappointed in the movie because I was like, this is very subpar to what I had in my head. So this is something that you want to kind of try and do while you're deep reading as well, is visualize all of this type of thing. I do understand that there's a small section, a group of people that cannot visualize like things in your head. I think it's what it's called. I just looked it up. Aphantasia, the inability to form mental images of real or imaginary people, places, or things. So if you have that, sorry, I don't know how to help you. I'm pretty sure there's resources out there for that as well. But for those of you who don't have aphantasia, that's kind of what you want to do when you're deep reading as well. Just imagine how everything looks in your mind. Like you're creating your own 3D movie in here to where you can walk into it and look around and see where everything is going. That's all. Thanks. And we're just going to quietly read together for 10 minutes. Okay. So that was 10 minutes. So we're going to take a break. We're going to stop their bookmark where it was so we don't lose our spot. Just put it down. Take a drink of your drink. If sitting too long or wherever you're at is getting to where something is getting tight or anything, you're not used to it for whatever reason, stretch your legs a little bit, stretch your arms, use the restroom if you need to, because once you come back to the space that you're reading, that's going to be your reading space for this time. And you're also going to think about what you read. However many pages you read, what was the story saying? Were you able to picture the descriptions? Were you able to hear the dialogue in whatever voice that you have selected for the characters? Which some books do a really good job of describing a voice to you and describing what the character looks like. So it's easier to picture and hear what they're saying. Some books don't. I read a book recently that doesn't tell you the name of anybody or any descriptions, and you kind of have to piece it together. So take this time to think about what you read, to think about anything that stood out to you. Are you following the story for what's going on in there yet? Just think on it. Just reflect. What did you read? What is it saying? Are you able to think about what the words mean? Able to picture the descriptions? To hear the dialogue? Depending on the book you're reading now, it could be heavy on description, heavy on the story, heavy on the dialogue. I don't know, but just think about it. Just take a few minutes to reflect on what you read. Okay, so that was our 5-minute break, and so we're going to go back into a 10-minute. Just continue to read. Pick up right where you left off and read. Okay. So that was our 10 minutes of reading and another 5-minute break. So again, with this 5-minute break, you're going to get up and stretch if you need it, depending on where you're at, readjust, get either more comfortable or sometimes less comfortable. If I'm too comfortable, I cannot read. I will fall asleep. Just keep the place in your book. Think about what you read. If there's been more descriptions, if it's filling out your worldview of what's going on in the book, and you're just going to think about more of what you read. You're going to think about the world and how it is in the book. If you're reading a fantasy book, there's going to be usually a lot of world building. So you have a lot to think about, a lot to visualize in your mind's eye. If you're reading a thriller or a mystery book, you're looking for like clues of what may be going on in the book. If you're reading a horror book, I guess kind of depends on what type of horror. You're just kind of taking it in and having that horror atmosphere in your mind. And these are mostly for fiction books. If you're reading a nonfiction or an academic book, the reading is going to be a little bit differently. And I don't know if I'm going to do a thing for that because I don't have many of those books around. But this is just for fiction. This is just, we're reading to read. We're reading to think more about what we're reading about. We're thinking deeply. We're going to get just sucked in to our book. Starting off in small little doses. If you're not used to reading, if you're not used to giving that time and attention to the book, that's what this is for. This is for starting off on your reading journey, learning how to read more deeply, learning how to think about more of what you read. And keeping your place in your book is going to be paramount. If you are finishing in a weird spot, like I'm finishing towards the middle of a paragraph, and like I said, if this is your first time, you're not used to sitting down, you're not used to giving this attention, you're going to go need a break. This is starting off. This is 10 minutes of reading, 5-minute break, 10 more minutes of reading, another 5-minute break before you either go off and do something else a part of your day, or you can start a timer up again for however long you want to read. But you read for 20 minutes so far today. If you're tracking how much you're reading, then yeah, you can say you read for a full 20 minutes today. And however many pages you want to put down in a tracker, I use Storygraph to track how much I'm reading and what I'm reading so I don't lose track. But since I finished towards the middle of a chapter, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my bookmark further up at the start of the chapter. So I'm going to reread the beginning part of, not chapter, paragraph of that paragraph when I come back to read. And you can store your book with a bookmark like this. There's some bookmarks that will let you have a little page. If not, you can just use a regular bookmark. Mine has a picture on one side and then a logo on the other side. I put the picture towards the page that I finished on. So that's there, and I know that I'm on that side of the page. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I will have the second video once you've mastered this part of reading for 10 minutes, taking a 5-minute break, and you're absorbing what you read. You can think back on the book and remember what you read. That's a big part of deep reading, is you're not skimming, you're not speeding, you are taking in the information, and you should be able to recall what you read. It's not a contest. Take your time. Take however long as you need to re-watch the video or do the 10 minutes, the 5-minute break, and when you're ready to move on to the next step, that'll be the next video. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I hope you guys have an amazing day, night, afternoon, whatever it is where you are. And don't forget to look in the description for the next video, and then for the first video in this explaining what deep reading is, the benefits of it, and how I'm going to break this down. And hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video. I'll talk to you guys very soon. Bye.